Good evening and welcome to the Common Council of the City of Connersville, March 1st, 2021 council meeting. Let's all rise for the Pledge of Allegiance, our flag here on our left. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Remain standing for the invocation by Mr. Hopkins.
Another beautiful day in the neighborhood, Mayor, and I'm so glad and thankful to be able to see the grass once again. Pray with her. Almighty God, we thank you and recognize you for your omnipresence in our midst. And I ask for your guidance for the City Council as they weigh the pros and cons of the matters at hand. Change is imminent and oftentimes necessary, even though it's not easy. Give these leaders the wisdom and camaraderie to represent the best interest of our citizens. Give them courage so that even when it's hard, they would continue to boldly lead with a long vision. The challenge is to not merely look for what is best for today, but to look for what the future may bring as well. Thank you for all who are here this evening out of concern, and may this meeting be one that will bring clarity and direction as we continue into the year 2021. In the name of Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen. Thank you. You may be seated. I'd like to welcome everyone here tonight. Before we get started, I do want to go over just a couple of safety items. There is a basketball, not game, but some guys are playing basketball over there. So try not to go through those doors. There are restrooms right over here. And if there is an emergency and we need to vacate the building, you can vacate straight through the back or straight through the side of the building in case of an emergency. There are going to be 2 public hearings tonight, so everyone has your agenda. So there will be a couple items on the public hearings. If you're speaking at either one of the public hearings, please state your name and address, and we will clarify that before we do each one as well. So let's begin with roll call.
Councilman Williams Jr.
Present.
Councilman Phillips. Present. Councilman Robb.
Present.
Councilman Gray.
Present.
Councilman Nutty.
Present.
Councilman Warner.
Here.
Councilwoman Barrett.
Also, I did forget to mention, this is being broadcast live on TV3, correct, John? Okay, just want to make sure everyone knew that. Everyone has the minutes from the February 16th, 2021 regular meeting. Are there any additions or corrections to those? Move to accept.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed, same sign. Motion carried. Thank you. Move on down to new business. Approval of pending ordinance 3644, non-contractual salary ordinance. Catherine, you want to come speak to this, please?
Our sports director, Dennis Ellis, from part-time to full-time. This would be changing the salary ordinance to do him to $12 to $60 per day. Changing it from 60 hours a week, or 60 hours a day to 70 hours a day.
Questions from council? If no questions, we'll entertain a motion to approve ordinance on first reading, 3644. Did I hear a motion a second? I'm having a hard time hearing back here, so
Yes.
the speakers go that way. So we have a motion and a second. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed, same sign. Okay, the motion to suspend the rules.
So moved.
Second. We have a motion and a second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. And we have a motion for third and final reading. So moved. We have a motion and a second. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed, same sign. Motion carried. Thank you. I'll just step here, Catherine. We have the public hearing approval for the changes in the park building rental fees. I will open the public hearing now, and remember, if you come up, just state your name and address. So the public hearing is now open for the park buildings rental fees. Anyone from the public have anything to say about the rental fees? If not, I will close the public hearing for that. And we can move on to item C, approval of pending ordinance 3645, changes in park building rental fees. Any questions for Catherine from council? These are changes made by the park board, the recommendation, so they are tasked with that, we approve those. So, no questions, we'll entertain a motion to approve pending ordinance 3645 on first reading. Motion. We have a motion, do I hear a second? Second. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed, same sign. And we have a motion to suspend the rules.
Motion. Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. And we have a motion for third and final reading. We have a motion.
Second.
We have a second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. Motion carried. Thank you. Item D, approval of resolution 21-13, reimbursement for MDH 254 signs. Rosemary?
Resolution 2021-13 is a resolution to reimburse $238.09 into the MBH sign appropriation. Is it okay if we take both resolutions together?
Yes.
Resolution 2021-14 is a resolution to reimburse $1,155 into the police telephone.
I move we pass resolution 2021-13 and 14.
Second. We have a motion and a second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. Thank you. Motion carried. Item F. Rosemary, you want to ask for your permission, please?
Every year, I need to ask for additional appropriation for the edit fund to be appropriated for the park pool bond payment. And this year, I need to appropriate $112,000, $112,642.41. And also, we did not spend all the CARES Act money, so we need to reappropriate that into the general fund. And then we also need to appropriate money into council other contractual services for the balance of the sidewalks project for a match, and then also money to transfer into the rainy day.
Questions from council? That was a lot.
So for clarification, you're just asking for permission to hold the public hearing for that?
Yes, well, first I have to advertise, and then we'll have a
Okay.
public hearing.
Just for advertising.
Is that sidewalk done? What part is that for?
Our portion of the two DESs that will be reletted this year, 3rd to 5th and 5th to 9th, our portion is, I think, $345,000, and we only had appropriated $210,000.
That's from Central Avenue?
Central Avenue from 3rd to 5th, 5th to 9th, replacing all sidewalks.
If I remember right, that was originally two projects, and they have combined them. It's still two DES numbers, but they combined them to one, right?
Right.
Any other questions? If not, we'll entertain a motion to approve for advertising for additional appropriation.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. All yeas, one no. Okay, item G. We're going to move on to the public hearing for the downtown traffic flow changes. Before we open the public hearing, we'll read a little bit of the statement here. This is not a vote for this. We are simply, and I want to stress, this is a public meeting to gather public input on this. We are not voting on this. I want to start off by why we looked at the idea of making one-way streets with angled parking. Our goal is to see downtown thriving once again. For as long as I can remember, it has been empty and in declining condition. I spoke with current downtown business owners and other individuals who wanted to move or start their businesses downtown, and parking has always been a concern. For someone to invest in a business, they must be able to know how their customers will be able to reach them. We brainstormed many ideas and finally reached out to Mr. Barrymore over here at Margaret Fairman Seaford for engineering help. Our first idea was to add angled parking instead of parallel on Central Avenue and not change traffic flow at all. This seemed like the easiest, most economical solution since sidewalks were getting ready to be replaced. Once measurements were taken, it was determined that the streets were not wide enough for this, even if only one side was angled parking. That is when we started exploring the east-west streets. In total, the east-west streets are 2 blocks between Grand and Eastern, except for 4th Street, which is 1 block due to the jail and courthouse. There are approximately 57 to 62 parking spots added on these streets. The reason that's approximate is a lot of them on 4th Street are completely unmarked. We don't really know how many are there until they get redone. The first concern we had was reaching out to fire and police. How is this going to impact them? And we met with both of them individually and together. We did a demonstration with the fire to make sure there wasn't going to be any problems. And Scott's here tonight, and I'll let him, if he wants to speak to that, we can, but we came up with a solution for that. Another concern I want to address is the cost. Because the cost of doing this basically is just going to be the signage. After we do the sidewalk program, those streets will be paved with grant money and painted with grant money. That's why we thought this as an alternative solution to increase our parking without a lot of cost, because it will just be signage on the one-way streets and signage directing people where they need to go. Angled parking is difficult for some. I get that. Some people think it's easier, some people think it's more difficult. The one problem I see is backing out into traffic. There's clearly a problem I see. I was talking with NDOT, and they suggested look at back-end angled parking as an option. At first, my gut reaction was, that sounds crazy. But really, you're backing in easier and pulling out into traffic that way you can see oncoming traffic. And it is very confusing. One-way streets can be confusing, there's no question about that. But I'm going to have Mr. Valmore come up and explain the process on the parking and the traffic flow and how we come to conclusions with what we did. So, Mr. Valmore, you come on up, sir. You might, if you want to talk to Councilor Trevor, you're more than welcome. Does everyone have a drawing, by the way? If not, I'm going to put it on the big screen. I didn't want to put it on the big screen and blind these guys if everyone has a drawing.
This is live, right? Can you hear me?
Yes. They're the ones you sent me. Yes, we can put them on there if you want. Justin, go ahead and put those up there. We can spread out a little bit.
Thank you, Mayor. My name is Doug Valmore with Butler Fairman Seifert. We've been involved with doing various things for the city for a decade or more. My specialty is I was involved with the design of the sidewalk project, which is just going to be construction this summer. I'm a transportation and traffic engineer, so the mayor tapped our firm to look at ideas to improve safety and traffic flow in basically the economy downtown. What has been successful in other towns, various mass events, you can only do so much with the streets widths you have, so the idea of coming up with one way, worked other places, we thought it might work here, you can at least consider it. So we're looking at converting 4th Street to westbound, between Central and Eastern, which you can't do it to the other block, and you have a two-way and one way going the other way. 5th Street is go the opposite way, it'd be eastbound, and we have one block there directions. 6th Street would be westbound, and then 7th Street would be eastbound. We consider zoning from Grand to Eastern, those 2 blocks. We consider it a block, we consider it a roll on tape, and Avenue South. And I think that the mayor's thinking was we just want to give this a try. With a few 4 blocks and see how that goes. If it's successful, maybe expand that in the future. If it's not popular, it's not that hard to put it back. Streets are going to get repaved next year regardless. So now's our opportunity to do this at minimal cost. If you restripe, striking the thermal plastic, which could be taken off fairly easily, it's pure painting. So we can treat this as a experiment that if it doesn't go well, we can easily defer back. Signage would be not enter signs, one-way signs, each of these blocks. Fire requested that, this is their number that you're seeing here, they requested that you give them a number of YouTube. And one idea was to turn the Central Avenue signal, all red flash, so that you don't have to stuck in the way of fire. Get out of the way when we're coming down the hill. In addition, at Eastern, we can keep the signal, but we need to clear out one side of the park. We're pretty happy with that. It was less critical on 6th, 4th, and 7th. 5th is the main drag there. So what are the advantages of going one way? First and foremost, pedestrians, it's a lot easier for people to get across streets when they only have to go one way. You're taking a lot of left turn movements out, in and out of Central and onto these side streets, so left turns are a problem for pedestrians and crossing. It's not going to eliminate them all, of course, but it'll cut them in half. And I feel like once we get Central Avenue sidewalks redone, things are going to start going up for pedestrians. It's going to be much more popular. We're trying to plan for that by making this whole core area safer while we're at it. Of course, yes, you do increase parking. So at the same time, you have more pedestrians going up and down these brand new sidewalks. You're going to have more people coming downtown to park. Let's go ahead and add some parking while we're at it here. Is there anything that you want me to cover, Mayor, aside from this whole process?
That's fine.
Okay. We can just open it up to comments?
Yep, I will open up. Go ahead and put the microphone back. Ooh. Okay, we will get on that. We're going to go ahead and open up the public hearing now. Just remember to state your name and address, please, and step forward. I have to speak loud because it is hard for us to hear up here.
Can I go first?
Yes.
My name is Richard Brown. Address is 508 East Hanson Drive.
Justin, are you picking her up?
I live on the east side
Thank you.
of Connersville. So when I come into town, I come into this street. So in order to go to my job, I'll have to go around the block. When I go home, I'll have to go around the block to go back home. When I go back, when I'm going to run errands on the north side of town, I'll have to find another way to get to Grand Avenue because it's going the wrong way. So, and I think it'll also cause more congestion on 7th and 6th Street trying to get out on Western Avenue. Because when I leave and try to exit onto Western Avenue or Eastern Avenue, sometimes I have to wait. I might wait for the traffic light to change, but then I'll probably have to wait for a second time for it to change. So I think the people that live on the east side of Connersville is going to have the biggest issues with this.
Thank you. Anyone else? Come on up.
My name's Joanne Borders, and I have a small business, and I feel like this one-way street mess that you've come up with will do nothing but kill Connersville. I have many, many people who come for gymnastics out of town, and they come across Fifth Street Bridge, and you're going to make it difficult for them to get up to the gymnastics center and back home again. And when they want to run an errand, it's going to make it confusing. And with the price of gas going up, then they have to go around the block several times to get where you're going. It's not making things simple. It's making things more complicated. We live in Connersville, Indiana. Connersville, Indiana is about half of what we used to have 20 years ago. And this worked fine for 20 years ago when we had businesses in every little slot. Now we have people that's empty. And I don't think this is going to help. I think this is going to hurt them. As a matter of fact, I brought a whole list of people who believe the same thing that I do. And if I had more time, I would find another list of people who live around me who think the same thing. Well, right now, when Connersville's tore up because of all the construction, you find yourself waiting and waiting to get around and have to take different directions. You know, you want to kill Connersville? This is the best way I know to kill Connersville and make everything more difficult for the people who live in this community, the people who shop still downtown, and the people who travel to Connersville to shop. It makes it difficult for them. You need to get out and talk to the normal people on the street and see how they feel, because this is not a good idea. And I have a list, and who do I give this to? Thank you for letting me talk.
Come on up.
Hi, my name is Vivian Heimlich. I have Sanders Jewelry Store at 6th Street and Central. Prior to that, we had 2 locations in Richmond, one at 831 East Main Street, which sounds like it should be on 8th Street, but it was actually on the corner of 9th Street, which is 27 one-way going north. And our previous location of that was 713 on 7th Street. Back in the day, they took 9th Street from two-way, because it was US 27, the state did this, to one-way north. They took 8th Street one-way south. Then they went ahead and they took 7th Street one-way north, 6th Street one-way south, went up beyond me on 10th, went one-way south, and then 11th Street one-way north. They've completely gone back to two-way except for 11th Street, and they really should be doing that one. It is, nobody liked it in Richmond, and they finally decided that they were going to take it back the way it was. And there's only 11th Street is still one way, and then I'm thinking maybe 5th Street, but I'm not even sure about that one now. And then everything else is going to take them back two-way except for U.S. Highway. Okay, thank you.
Jack Willis, I live in the north end of town. I understand the other 2 ladies' issues, but I think you need to make this decision for the majority of the people in town, not the minority. We've had a lot of things in this town and we voted against this and that, and we are very unproductive. We don't want to move up with the times to make things better. I'll use the jail as an example. We've got to improve. We got to live in 2021 and not 1921. Thank you.
So are you for or against?
I am for the decision to what's the best for the people in the community. That's if 60% it says it's good and 40 say no, I go with the 60%. Thank you. Yes, sir.
Hello, I live on 29th Street, Western Avenue. My name is Ruby Soller. I'm against it, and Charlie. If there was something downtown to go to, we got a restaurant, we got a couple restaurants good, and a couple others, but how many, there's more stores empty down there than there's filled. And I can't see us spending that kind of money when you need other things to be done. You look downtown Richmond, down the main drive, it's just dead. There's nothing there. The stores all closed. Our stores already closed. And why spend that kind of money when you could spend the money some other way? And I just feel like it's paint the curbs. I'll paint my curb. If they got money they want to do, make our town look attractive. That one way ain't gonna help. You talk about speeders going down there? Why did we take the stoplights down? That's the implication. Go as fast as you can. And I'm against it altogether in my neighborhood, and it takes getting petitions. I'll go around and get it. Because there's more people, and if it wasn't for Cobra, I think more people would get out and express it. So I'm against it altogether.
Yes.
All right, I'm Tom Peck, and I live right in the area that I end up having to go through this section a lot. Thank you for all the work that you did in planning all this out. I appreciate all that and all the work that, we've seen on Facebook and the 819 comments that we've seen through this. People do have very strong opinions. It's interesting. I'm a father of 2 young boys. I want to be able to go through and walk down the street and not have to them possibly walking into an area and having some idiot turn left without paying attention like I've seen happen many times. I want to be able to walk downtown with my family and be able to shop locally, be able to go into the wholesale stores, go talk to people at Community Foundation. Heck, maybe even go get a burger at Ozzy's or something like that, maybe just go and get a drink there at one point. This town cannot live in 1985. What worked then is not going to work now. What worked for us then does not work now. It's great that we had double the amount of people and no parking issues. Well, guess what? We don't have double the amount of shops and we have parking issues. There are snow issues. There are car issues. There are trailers randomly throughout the area that we need to address. I personally do not like 5th Street becoming a one-way. I believe that is too vital of an artery for us to do. I would like to see 6th Street and 7th Street changed to where the flow goes differently. I would like to understand why those directions were chosen that way, why 6th Street is now going westbound instead of the other way. Personally, I think it might be better going the opposite direction. Sacrificing 1 block of parking along Central may be a great idea for us to try. And as has been known, our tax dollars are going to be spent on this no matter what. We will end up spending money going and resurfacing, repainting, and doing this. There is nothing wrong with change. Let's try to change this at least for a year. If we can go and get through 8 weeks of sewage being fixed over right downtown, we can get through a year of some horizontal parking. The main problem with Connorsville at this point is not that businesses are not here. It's that businesses can't come here because they feel like they don't have the parking and the ability for people to get to the areas they want to be in. Let's find some area that they can get in. This is something that we can do that is going to be very cheap, that is not going to require a large amount of work and effort. I support this bill. Bill with a D. Let's try this. The worst thing that happens is that we go and turn it back and put some more paint on the ground. What's the total cost aspect of this? Which sounds like a lot of money to regular people, but when you talk municipal budgets, not terrible. Let's try it.
What's your last name?
Peck. P-E-C-K. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else? Yes, come on up.
is Donna Schroeder. My address is 3820 South, 850 West, Glenwood, Indiana. However, I own the building at 612 Central Avenue. I have several concerns with this. I'd say on behalf of, I've been on the tourism board, I'm the county historian, I'm a board member at HCI and past president, and when you make Fifth Street going the other way, what are you doing to the railroad and the museum? That makes no sense at all. We have lots of people come from Cincinnati and places east, and they get to town, and then they're going to have to find a new way to get to the railroad or the museum. That makes no sense at all to me. And I can tell you, if you take out all the stoplights downtown, you're not helping anybody. Unless you're going to have a cop down there making sure that people can get across the street. I see the kids from the dance studio now running across the street. We've got one stoplight left, and until you get to Fifth. This makes no sense. This is just some pipe dream. I mean, if you want to make the other streets one way, I'd go with that. But I can't see Fifth Street at all. And I don't know whose idea that was, but no offense to anybody here, but I don't think it was a good one. So now, because the ones in the back couldn't hear, what's the cost of this again?
The cost will be the signage we have to put up, because the street's getting paid with grant money, and then what we're paying Mr. Brown over here. But it'll be the cost of signs, because the paint and the asphalt will be covered with grant money.
That's not completely true. We're planning on doing a community crossing grant next year if it's available. And so we'll have a...
That's true. If it's available, it will be...
Will be a 50% match.
But you don't have an idea of the cost.
Of the signs?
Yeah, of the whole.
It hasn't been studied. The roads, no.
Pardon?
The signs, no.
Okay. I thought did you give an amount? We couldn't hear. Oh, okay. I see. Well, I haven't heard anything about what's the speed limit going to be on Central.
We'd like to reduce it to 20.
Okay. And how are you going to enforce that?
Police.
And how are people going to get across the street?
I'm sorry?
How are people going to cross the street with no lights?
Crosswalks. The crosswalks we have now, we're going to mark them with, they'll be marked clearly. Just like they cross 6th Street and let's see, not 7th Street now.
And how is that going to...
We're slowing the traffic down to 20 miles an hour.
Okay, well, I can tell you I've been down there 20 years. And for 20 years, I've been asking the police department to come down and keep the kids on bicycles off of the sidewalks so that our customers don't get hit. And that's never happened. So you better get ready to have somebody down there all the time to make sure that they're going 20 miles an hour.
That's the point of this hearing, so we can get all public input so we know
So,
the cons.
but I think a lot of us are totally against the idea of Fifth Street being one way. Well, I'm not real keen on 4th Street either because that makes it harder to get to the Canal House, which is also, something that Historic Connersville has, and we'd like to be able to have easy access to it. But yeah, I have a real issue with Fifth Street, and I have a real problem with no lights downtown to slow people down. Because you should come down there yourself, sit on the street, and even with the lights, you watch how fast people are going now. Over on Eastern, too. So, that's my issue. Thank you. Hi, my name is Lori Moff, and I live at 535 John Street, and I am against the one-way streets, especially on Fifth Street. My concern with Fifth Street is that you have the courthouse, you have the bank, you have the police department, and we need access to that both directions. That is a main vein coming in from East Connersville, and it's very important, I feel, that we keep that as a two-way street. Another concern that I have is that if we make the one-way streets on 6th and 7th, the traffic in Richmond, they are one-way. South A is one-way on each side. In Connersville, Grand Avenue is not one-way, and Eastern is not one-way. So to turn onto the one-way streets off of Eastern or Grand, if you're turning left, you're going to stop traffic, you're going to back traffic up, and have more congestion. Also, I feel like you should have stoplights or stop signs at the intersections of 6th and 7th, because if you don't, people are not going to be able to get across the road. If you have traffic a four-way stop will allow traffic to get through and pedestrians to get across the road. I also feel like there could be an alternative to parking. We have the Eastern parking on Eastern Avenue, the parking lot there, which is a city parking lot. I know that Family Video is out of business. Is that a possibility to purchase that? Utilize that parking versus spending extra money to reroute the roads. I'm truly against Fifth Street being a one-way though. Thank you.
Yes, come on up.
I'm Linda Fitzgerald. My address is 1602 Conwell Street. My concern is, I guess it's really a question, how does this fit into an overall plan? I'm going to take this down.
You're fine. I'm a drummer, so I'm a little hard.
I'm not going to spit on you, Jim.
You're fine.
How does it fit into an overall plan? It seems to me that we tend to do things cart before the horse. So there's not a lot of reason to go downtown. There are two restaurants that I'm aware of, but we do have a lot of vacant property. It would seem to me that we might want to put our focus on filling those buildings and bringing more business downtown, then see whether or not this is the best plan for parking. But I know that the Area Plan Commission is going to be working on the comprehensive area plan. But as the gentleman said, there's nothing wrong with change, but it should be plan change. So while I'm not totally opposed to this, I am opposed to doing anything with Eastern Avenue. That's, to me, a disaster. And as a vintage member by age in the community, this kind of parking is difficult to see backing out. So, it is an accident looking for a place to happen. So my concern is that we need to be very careful about continuing to do the cart before the horse, so that what we do, regardless of whether it's this, whether it's assisted living, there are so many things that we need in this community, more so than this, I think. That's where our energy needs to go, and our funding needs to go, and the energy of people who really care about this community and want to do things. So I would strongly resist doing anything with Eastern Avenue at this time. Thank you.
Just a reminder, there is a cable up there, so please be careful. It is taking the floor, but just be careful if you walk up. Anyone else? Yes, ma'am, come on up.
Hello, my name's Helen Edwards. I live at 3300 Waterloo Road. I also have a business. It's not downtown, but it is on Central Avenue. I am all against the one-way streets. We are not as big as Richmond. We don't need to try to act like Richmond. We're good the way we are. The traffic goes good. You get these one-way streets, people aren't going to be able to even go downtown because traffic's going to be so messed up, blocked, because they won't be able to turn and get onto the streets they want to. There's no reason. There is plenty of parking. If you walk a little bit, the walking isn't going to hurt anyone. There's public parking lots that you can utilize without ruining the streets. But I just wanted to tell, my business is 1318 Central. Like I said, it leads into downtown, and it'll affect the traffic there. But I'm all against it, and I also have 41 signatures that people couldn't come tonight that are against it too. And if I think there was something put out there, there would be even more. But the weather hasn't been good enough to get out and get more. There's too many people that are dead set against it.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Brian Durham, 908 Woodward Street. So in December of 2018, we started on a project in a downtown building, the former Central State Bank building, to bring a company in. In July of that year, they visited the Central State Bank building, and one of the biggest concerns they had at that time was being able to find parking for their employees. They since came to town. They opened in 2020. Lots of things changed during 2020 and COVID. I'm sure Jordan can speak more to that as the site manager of that business. And they came in promising 75 employees. And I remember leaving a redevelopment commission thinking, if they hire 75 people, where are they going to park downtown? Now, the business model changed slightly during last year with a lot of work from home. I'm going to pull my mask up. And that may continue to be the case. But they are relying on another private business's parking lot that could sell it tomorrow if they wanted to. Another business in town just experienced something similar over on the east side when Historic Connersville sold the Vine Street location, and the gentleman who purchased it has marked off a lot of the parking lot that Southern Style Family Dining was utilizing for free. I believe county has leased some of that parking lot space, but when you rely on a private business to a gentleman's agreement to always be there, it creates a problem when they decide to sell and you don't have an agreement in place for the long term. So if we want to bring jobs downtown and businesses downtown, well, I was downtown Thursday afternoon. There wasn't a single parking space available in the Fifth Third Bank parking lot. 7th Street was full. They were double parked in the Fifth Third Bank parking lot. The courthouse parking lot on a normal day has anywhere between 35 and 40 cars, which are most of the spaces for that. So the larger parking lots, between 9 and 5 are typically full all day long. Along Central Avenue, you can find parking, but there's been times at 7 o'clock I show up for an area planning meeting, and I have to park 3 blocks up the street because there was nowhere for me to park. Those are rare occasions, but they do happen. The city does have a parking lot, a small parking lot on 6th Street between Frontier and the Central Avenue block. There's about 15 parking spaces. Drive by on any afternoon, and most of those are full as well. There's not a whole lot of available parking downtown, and if we want to grow and we want to invite businesses downtown, they got to have a place to park. I had a gentleman, one of his hesitations with making an offer on a large building downtown, in addition to taxes, was if he bought it, where were his customers going to park? Mr. Mayor, you and I had that same conversation with that gentleman last week and tried to ease his concerns that there might be a solution if he was able to purchase that building so that he could have available space for people. That's all I have.
Hello, everybody. My name is Jordan Purcell. I am the site director at RDI on 531 North Central. What Brian said is it's right. When we first came out here back in July, Mayor, you and I, we took a tour of the town, and that was the first question that I had was, where am I going to have everybody parked, right? That building downtown, we have no parking that's for that building whatsoever. We are relying currently on another business for our parking lots and then all the parking that's left on 6th Street. How many, do you know the current number of parking spots that are currently on 6th Street?
Jordan, what's your last name?
Purcell, P-U-R-C-E-L-L. Yeah. So I currently, we're talking about things filling up. I have classes that come and go. We are doing a lot of remote classes, so we'll bring them in. We train them for several weeks. A lot of those are going home at this point, but a lot of them are going to be staying on site. I'm currently employing close to 120 Indiana residents right now at this point. We have on site 45, almost 50 employees. This summer, I'll be reaching 90 to possibly 100 people on site. I'm out of parking. We have filled the Fifth Third parking lot. We have filled 6th Street. I walked around today to all the local businesses to apologize, give them my business card, let them know that if we are blocking any of their customers, please call me so that we can move those people. We are filling most of the eastern parking lot that's over there that the city owns. I'm out of parking. I am not having an issue getting employees. I am not having an issue getting any resources. Next year, if I go much larger, I will have to turn down business because I won't have anywhere for my employees to be able to park. I've seen a lot of different initiatives. I've seen, additional parking. I've seen one-ways. As a business owner that's right there in downtown bringing a lot of jobs, I can say that my big plea is I do need parking. If we can find a way to come to that resolution, maybe it is for a year, maybe we do just attempt it on 6th Street, but I can tell you on 6th and Central, I could definitely use some additional spaces because while it is nice to bring in those other, customers and those other businesses, if we do plan to grow downtown, which I am very passionate about, I want to make sure that I can help in every way. That would be my big concern. If I was another business owner that started to come downtown and, as that continues to fill up, would there be enough space for another person to be down there? So, that's my information. I think it's important that as you guys see my employees filling up the streets, just take that into consideration from an information standpoint. RDI is not going anywhere. We just got into the business. We haven't closed a building in over 15 years. And that was only because we needed to go to a bigger one down the street. I've invested $1.3 million into the building already, and we just opened our doors in October. There is no sight of us stopping. So my plan is to employ over 200 employees by the end of this year, and I would love to be at 300 or more by the end of next year. So with your help and trying to get some additional parking in there, I would love to employ as many people in this town as I possibly can. So that's my 2 cents. If anybody ever has a question about what we do or some of the concerns that I have, I'd love to be able to speak to that. So thank you.
Anyone else? Yes, ma'am. Come on.
I'm Karen Lippincott. My business is at 3201 Iowa Avenue. I come downtown regularly, and I am against this because one-way streets confuse people. The majority of our community is over my age now, and they don't like to see one-way streets. They want to be able to turn where they always could turn. I think it would cause more accidents, and I hate to see accidents. And everyone I've talked to, I have not heard anyone really want it, other than you guys right here. And I do want to see more people grow into downtown, but there are some empty spots that could be turned into parking lots if someone would just be proactive in doing that. I think that would be a better solution than having one-way streets. That confuses people, could cause more accidents, and be overall detrimental to the businesses downtown when people just avoid it because they hate one-way streets. I never liked Richmond's one-way streets, and I was just traveling recently and came to a small town that had one-way streets, and I said, this is exactly what I don't want for Connersville. It's confusing how to get to someplace, and it will cause people to not come downtown, and I know that's not what downtown wants. Thank you very much.
Anyone else? Last call before I close the hearing. Yes, sir. I'm sorry. I see it. Mark.
Good evening. My name's Ed Canad. I live at 812 Main Street in Brookville. I own Canet's Interiors on the corner of Central and 6th Street. I also own another building on 7th Street that used to be the Bow Building. And the way that it looks like these one-way streets are going to be set up, it's going to put a stranglehold on my business, because the pull-in diagonal parking would be on the north side of 6th Street. That's where we load and unload trucks. So we would have to carry our goods all the way across the street in order to load them up, and we'd have to carry them all the way across the street in order to bring them into our building. Our parking on Central Avenue is very limited right now, because that turns into a two-lane corner there where streets can turn, or where cars can turn to the right or they can go straight. So that drops back probably 70 yards or 60 yards. So I have very limited parking there. There's businesses that are on Central Avenue that use that parking. There's many a times we come up there and there's no place to park. We have to drive around the block and wait till somebody moves. And then on the building on 7th Street, you want to set the pull-in angle parking on the north side there also. We have semis that come in and unload mattresses. We would have to carry those mattresses all the way across the street, and it would just be impractical. I mean, we get as many as 30 to 50 mattresses at a time. And another issue that we have, Jordan Purcell just was up here speaking about the high number of people that they have moving into his business, the Fifth Third Bank there. It's already put a stranglehold on my parking spaces on the north side of 6th Street. I would like to see signs put up for limited parking, half-hour parking, rather than somebody come in there and park all day. We've had instances where we have a loading zone and the people park in the loading zone. We can't even load or unload our truck because there's cars parked there. So something definitely needs to be done about the parking downtown, and I don't think that the one-way streets would help. If you did go with the one-way streets, the only way that it would work for me is if they went the opposite direction. And you'd have to have 6th and 7th Street going the same way. So I'd lose out on one or the other. And neither one of them would be favorable to me. Because we'll have to carry all our furniture, across the street, all our bedding across the street. I've been in business since 1994, and this could be the end of it. I've had people come in the store and say, well, we've heard rumors that you're leaving town. You're one of the few businesses that are left downtown. Well, if this goes through, or if there isn't something done about the parking at Fifth Third coming over onto my side of the street, there's a good possibility we will shut our business, because it's not worth the fight. I haven't asked for anything in the 20 years that I've been here, 26 years that I've been here, but this looks like it'll put an end to our business. So for what it's worth.
I came in asking for your contact information, but I didn't get it.
What?
I came in your store looking for contact information, but I didn't get it. Can I get your contact information so I can meet you and talk with you about your store?
Sure.
After the meeting, just make sure I get your contact information.
Okay.
I didn't know how to get a hold of you.
Yeah, I was going to say earlier, this gentleman here said that he had spoke to everybody. Nobody spoke to me.
I tried, but I didn't get your information.
Yeah. But that's how I feel about it. I'm against it. But I'll agree, there is a downtown parking problem. And if something's not, something don't give, it's going to put me out of business, because my customers can't park blocks away, I've got limited parking space on my side of the street. And like I said, my loading zone, there's even cars parking in there.
I want to meet with you and walk out. We need to figure out something for you.
Okay, thank you. Yes. Yes. There's a no parking sign there. No parking from here to the corner, but I didn't know that there was a loading. But if there is a loading, there's a lot of times when people are parking that also. Because we've had numerous times when we've had to go around the block and take our furniture in on 6th Street. We prefer. I'm not sure there is one. So we try and work out of both places, because if one place is blocked, if there's no parking, we'll go around to the front of the store and try and get in that way. But when they start parking in the loading zones, it puts us out of business. And when my customers have no place to park, they're not going to come in. And I've been there for 25 years. I've been there since 1995. And it's just, to me, it's just another nail in the coffin.
Okay, make sure I get with you after this meeting.
Okay, thank you.
Anybody else? Yes.
Jackie Hill, 418 East 13th Street. I have not heard a word yet, anything said about, I believe it's this year, next year, the state of Indiana is going to come in and start redoing Eastern Avenue and working on the state highway. Well, if we're making all these changes with one-way streets this way and that way, isn't that going to be a bigger headache with having to deal with the construction of the state highway, we're working on Eastern Avenue all the way up to 30th Street. That, I believe, something needs to be looked at before the state comes in and starts tearing up Eastern Avenue to redo the state highway.
Thank you. Anyone else? Last call before I close the public hearing. Okay, the public hearing is now closed. Thank you very much again. I appreciate and value everyone's input. Like I said, we are not making a decision. We're seeking public input. Let's finish up the meeting here. Anybody, council person, have any old business? Any new business? I'm sorry, that's Linda's business. Okay, I do have another public forum. If anyone from the public has anything to say before we close? If not, oh, I'm sorry, I did not see you. I'm sorry, I apologize.
Hello, my name's Helen Edwards, 3300 Waterloo Road. I would like to see something done about the recycle truck. We need another one. If Rushville can afford to have one, Richmond just got one with a grant. I think Connorsville should do one. People are getting tired of having to take their recycle to either the transfer station or to the city parking lot. There are a lot of older people that have trouble putting that stuff in those dumpsters. I have several times helped people do this. We need to get a recycle truck to go around picking up recycle.
Thank you.
And I'd like to see that addressed.
Anybody else? If not, I would take a motion for adjournment. I didn't hear a second. Okay. All in favor, signify by saying aye. Any opposed, same sign. Thank you very much. Have a wonderful evening.